How does that
No,
look?
I'm not saying that. You get some sense that there's a handful of stocks.
Look at that. I mean, you could tie that to the market. Bang.
Nice shirt. What does that say? What are you wearing?
Oh, look at
Is
that.
that Harley?
New York Urban Professionals Basketball League.
Oh,
This is
excuse me.
circa 1993, 94.
So like you're like 5 years on Wall Street. You probably taking off your suspenders, going into the AC, putting on a pair of like bad early '90s sneakers. And then your game is, I know what your game is. Like you're kind of getting the ball at the top of the key. You're sweating all over the guy. You're sweating all over him.
I'm a big sweater. So I started in 86. So I'm probably 6 years in. I could still play a little bit. We would play at different gyms all over the city, like these elementary, middle school gyms, obscure places, literally all over Manhattan, but that was before Google Maps and that stuff. So some of these places were really hard to find, but there were about 25 different levels of this league. And obviously the top levels for
Where
guys.
were you sitting?
We were actually,
in?
we were like in the top 11, 12, which back then was decent hoop. And I got to tell you something. There were some good games, man. Some really good games.
The guy over my shoulder, and you're probably asking why I got a picture. And you know who that is, by the way? You know who that is.
That's Butch Trucks. No, that's Bob Dylan. I know who that is. It's Bob Dylan.
And that's a classic Dylan look. He's got the Wayfarers. Hard to believe that Robert Zimmerman, a.k.a. Bobby D, like he was actually a fashion icon. Like he was setting a standard. Not only was his songwriting changing the world back in the mid to late 60s, but he actually was a cool cat. So he's looking cool there. And if you think about you were playing hoops 30 years ago, and do you think Bob Dylan would have ever have thought that his music catalog was something that he could actually securitize and actually have either a cash flow stream built off of it or outright sell the rights to, which has become a major thing in rock and roll. So some artists like Dylan, who's again should be sitting at he's in the pantheon of all-time rock and roll songwriters. Think about what his catalog sold for last year. And if you think about that and you think about like this is one of the greatest songwriters of all time, who would have thought that the music business would become such big business?
Well, it's interesting. I think it was this time last year that he sold his catalog for $300 million to Universal Music, which is that's a big ticket. Now, I'm going to say this, and please don't at me on Twitter, and you folks watching in the lounge or in the airport.
When you say that, you're inviting it. You're inviting it.
I am inviting it, but what I'll say is, was he really a great songwriter, or did he just link together words that rhymed in a nonsensical way? Because some of those songs, and I know, make zero sense.
Guy, the answer, my friend, is Blowin' in the Wind. I mean, who else is coming up with that? Just stop and think about that and think of the philosophy that was going through those, no, I'm sorry. Wind cries Mary, baby, and all along the Watchtower and turn to everything. There is a season, guy.
Yeah, except out of the Bible. I mean, he's basically ripping off the Bible, which is fine. I mean, listen, so Led Zeppelin's taking lyrics from The Hobbit. So, I mean, I guess all is fair in love and lyrics.
So the question is, the music industry is a very different place even today than it was 2 years ago. And content is king, as it is anywhere. And look at anyone from Netflix to Disney and the fight that's going on there, and then the kind of the second tiers like a Paramount but what's going on with content and the way Amazon and Apple have entered into the fray. Content's king. If you're Bob Dylan, question is your catalog going to be worth more in a couple of years than it was the $300 million? By the way, and I know you're going to at me on this, and I'll invite the same thing because bring this on. Stevie Nicks, I think, sold her catalog for about 80 to 90. You can't tell me Stevie Nicks is 1/3 or 1/4 Bobby D. There's no way. In fact, I think Stevie Nicks is defensive listing. I can't stand Stevie Nicks, even though I'm a fan of Fleetwood Mac. So what do you got there?
I love Stevie Nicks, I will tell you. I mean, the Fleetwood Mac provided one of the many soundtracks of my youth, and Stevie Nicks to this day is one of my all-time faves. So I'm going to come right back.
What's the soundtrack of your youth?
Hold on. I mean, Stevie Nicks' catalog should be twice that of Bob Dylan.
All right, all right. Bob Dylan may or may not have sold too soon in a world where content is king. Um, think of companies that had either a division, an arm, a major segment of their business that they decided to spin off.
Hmm.
Anybody come to mind where it was notable and where possibly mistake?
That's a great. I love that question. So embedded in that, did Bob Dylan sell too soon? And at 300 million in today's world, what would that be? And I would submit he maybe get twice that a year later. But that's neither here nor there. You can't do the counterfactual. What I will tell you factually, though, there are two companies that come to mind. McDonald's spun off Chipotle CMG, and one
Yeah.
has to wonder if they rue the day they did that. Just look at the success of CMG. And the other one that comes to mind is ConocoPhillips spinning off Phillips 66, I think, in 2012. Would that have been a great company to have under their umbrella right now? So
See,
to me, those are
yeah.
two companies that come to mind.
I think that's interesting. You know, the ConocoPhillips 66 one is a place where I'm guessing between now and going back 8 or 9 years. I mean, think about what's happened to the oil and gas sector, and think about where so ConocoPhillips and think about a Phillips 66. It's basically upstream, downstream, retail, and whatnot. I think if you just look at valuations across the energy space in that time, I'm going to tell you that I actually think that the energy companies are probably worth more. So yay to Conoco. By the way, Conoco, they kind of redid their whole business. They were one of the first, and I think they were even a little bit before Chevron in terms of streamlining and actually paring down and not trying to grow at all costs and trying to generate cash flow. So I think that was an interesting call. How about eBay? And PayPal.
100%.
All right. So
That's a
if you
great
think
call.
about that, and right now, Guy, I ask you, which company is more important, eBay or PayPal? It's not even close.
That's not even close. That to me is the exact right answer. I mean, out of the three, I think you hit the nail on the head. PayPal obviously has become bigger than the company that they spun out from. So again, did they make a mistake, or was it just good business at the time? I mean, again, it's very hard to do the counterfactual, but you look at ConocoPhillips, Phillips 66, for example. PSX is a $30 billion company. I think CMG is almost a $40 billion company to McDonald's rather large market cap. So did they make a mistake? Listen, you have to obviously make decisions at the time. I think with the benefit of hindsight, I think all three of those examples were a mistake. And I think if Dylan waited, he's looking at a 500 number instead of 300.
In terms of big mistakes, I mean, do you think that T-shirt is something you should continue to wear as a guy that probably has no game anymore? I'm just asking. I'm just asking the question.
I think that's fair. I think I will continue to wear it. It's sort of falling apart a little bit. And listen, don't mock my hoop game, because I'll go out there right now and light it up. I mean, I'm not Steph Curry, but I'm close.
I see you taking somebody hard to the dish tonight. Good luck out there. Don't hurt yourself. Meanwhile, I'll see you tomorrow on Reach TV, somewhere around 6 o'clock or wherever you're walking around the airport. I'm Tim Seymour. He's Guy Adami, and we are
Commercial break, brother.